Welcome to the CareerMetis Podcast. I'm your host, Nissar. I'm also the founder and editor of the blog, CareerMetis.com. And for the podcast, this is episode number 57. And this particular episode is part of the A Day in the Life of series. In the past, as you have heard, in each of these episodes, I conduct interviews with individuals from a particular line of profession, particular career. And the goal of these episodes are for the listeners to get an inside scoop, an inside depth understanding of that particular job or industry. And for today's episode, I think this is timely, keeping in line with what's happening on the news. I'm speaking with someone who works in the renewable energy, particularly the solar industry. I read an article on Business Insider recently that jobs in the solar industry are growing 12 times faster than the US economy. So this is timely. I'm not going to talk about politics in this interview, but everybody knows what's happening this week in terms of environment, energy, etc. So I'm going to stick to the script here and talk about solar industry. And our guest today, his name is Andrew Young. Andrew works in the solar industry. He's an account manager based out of Toronto, and I'm sure he'll share more about his position, his experience, where he stands today, some of the challenges of the industry, some of the things that he considers are benefits, and so on. Hey, Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Nissar. Thanks for having me.
So the first question I always ask my guests is, where are they calling from?
I am right now in my place in Toronto.
All right. I've had a few guests from Toronto. I personally am from Toronto as well. What is something that you consider is like something interesting about Toronto that most people do not know unless they've visited or lived here?
To be honest, I guess I just came back from the farmer's market, and just the amount of green space that we have in this city is fantastic. Like, I love how we have just parks everywhere, and some really big parks. Like last weekend, I went for a walk in Sherwood Park. It's in sort of Lawrence Park. It goes down into the Don Valley River, and I mean, you feel like you're in the middle of the forest and you're in the middle of the city. So I really like the amount of green space and park space that we do have. Absolutely.
And this is something I've said in earlier interviews. Toronto is one of the best places you can be in the summer. And as we are doing this, we are just approaching summer. So perfect time for those listening. If you're in Toronto, if you visit Toronto, go check out the green spaces. And actually, it's funny you talk about green spaces because that is going to be the interview today. So I don't want to keep talking here. Andrew, maybe you can start off by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess you mentioned I'm currently I'm an account manager for a renewable energy company, but I've been in sales now for a number of years. I've owned a business with my mother previous to career in sales, and I've been, I guess, seeking what is right for me for a long time, and with this, I guess, renewable energy push globally. I really sort of have found my place, and I'm really comfortable and happy where I'm at. So yeah, I'm definitely a bit of a environmentalist hippie in many ways. So, I feel right at home.
So I'm curious because you said you started off in sales. Now you have found yourself in the renewable energy industry, specifically solar. How did you get involved in the industry? How did that transformation or the path happen?
Kind of a little bit by chance, but I was at a place where I was working for, I was in a job that I think anybody would be envious of, a really sort of high level sales job in the orthodontic business of all places. I still don't quite know how I ended up there, and it just got to the point where it's like, I don't really like what I'm doing, or I have no passion or care for what I'm doing. And I wanted to then seek out something that would be interesting to me and something I could get really behind, because as your career is a big part of your life, and I didn't feel like I was a part of my career, if that kind of makes sense. So I then changed jobs to another job that was a little like had that sort of that green aspect to it, with an industrial cleaning company that, focused on this technology that didn't use detergents and only used like electrolysis and just water basically and salt to clean floors. And I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. I can get behind this. And then I was just like, it's just not enough. It's not there enough. So I decided to, the last 6 months of that job, I was sort of looking, what else is out there? What else is out there? And I stumbled across solar sales job. It was fully commission, sort of door to door. And I was like, you know what, if I'm going to change jobs and change careers, like I've got to take that leap and I've got to take that risk. So I quit that job and jumped right into renewables. And it was very, very challenging because I was always essentially a B2B sales guy. And this was directly going from B2B to B2C, business to consumer. And yeah, it was a whole new ball game, but I quite liked it. Good atmosphere, good team, good products. And, then things kind of changed a little bit. So I had to sort of pivot and find something a little bit more, something with a little bit more stable of an organization. Then I, a few months thereafter, I found work at a company I'm currently at, and I am pretty new at it, this job, but in it about 3.5, 4 months, but I'm absolutely loving it. I see a long career with this company.
So I'm curious, what does a day-to-day look like for someone in your position?
Oh, my day-to-day is I'll usually go into the office around, 8:40, check my emails, because everybody, like the industry that I'm in, very much in the construction, engineering, architecture firms, dealing with all these types of people. So you can get emails at who knows what hours. So I always go in and check my emails, respond to them as quickly as I can. Then typically, people inquire about the product, and, then I find out what they need it for. And then I basically build proposals, send them out, go over them, find out, will this work? Let me see some engineering drawings, architectural drawings, because the product that I sell is, I guess it's called solar wall. So it's designed to preheat outdoor air to reduce natural gas costs in the wintertime. So it's very much an engineered system. So there's a lot of back and forth that has to go on. And then, some deals are at the very beginning. So it's sort of very conceptual. Architects want to build this building and they want to incorporate a solar wall. Other times it's at the end. So like a tender package has already gone out, and now the winning bidder of that tender package we have to connect with to get a PO and find out how this is going to get installed and when it's going to happen, and deal with all those hurdles in the way. So it's a very full, well-rounded position, and at many times it's not just account management, it's sort of like project management. So taking sort of complete hold of that project and fitting all the pieces together so that we make life easier for the contractor, then they're more likely to use us again in the future.
Sounds good. So it seems like they reach out to you, someone already has a vision, and you help them to execute that vision in terms of building out that building with all the solar codes and all that. Is that correct? Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, like it's the company and the product itself has been around for so long that we get calls all the time for projects and, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? I know you've been on this school or on that building. We would like to incorporate that as a part of our vision to sell it to builder, the owner, or whatever. So yeah, we really just help people out as much as we can. It's really about 80% of all of my activity comes to me. So I'm very lucky in that sense. And that's really 20% of the time I'm trying to reach out and sell the product to people that, maybe they don't even know that they need it.
And do you think that is happening because the solar has gone mainstream compared to 5 years ago, where it was the cool new thing? Now, almost every day you open the news, there is some type of changes, positive changes happening in solar and renewable energy.
Yeah, it's very, very much connected to that. Like we are seeing, especially in Ontario, we are seeing a tremendous amount of interest. Part of it is, costs are getting more expensive, doing things the old traditional way. But one of the huge benefits is, especially for a system like ours that reduces carbon emissions, is there's that whole cap and trade program in Ontario. So all this money that Ontario government has been collecting since January 1st, they have to now spend that money. So there's so many funding programs available for companies to reduce their carbon emissions. And if they are going to institute a system like ours, there's a lot of funding to help them do that. And now all of a sudden your ROI is very attractive. So it just it becomes a win-win-win scenario for everybody. And that's kind of where everything's going. It's we're giving funding to organizations and people that are moving in a direction that is going to benefit society and themselves as a whole, and funding it through polluting practices.
Okay. So it does sound promising, is what I'm hearing, is you have the government involvement. For example, in the US, California is known for that for many years. Ontario, globally, if you look at Europe, Asia, there's a lot of encouragement from the public sector. There's also a lot of private investments. A lot of people are going to. So it's very encouraging to hear that. And even I mentioned at the beginning of this interview that there was an article that said that solar industry jobs is growing 12 times faster than the US economy, which is amazing. So it's one of the fastest growing careers right now.
Oh yeah, it's huge. And I mean, the US is a great example of what can be done. Like a large majority of all this growth is actually from, one state, California. And it's quite impressive how much jobs and how much money has been added to the economy through just one state. Now imagine all the states start to move in this direction. So many more people can be employed, so much more clean energy, instituted. Like it's a really fantastic industry to get into, because there's no way to really lose in it. You create your own power, you save money, jobs are created, you're not polluting. What is the downside of something like this? I can't see any.
No, that's definitely very encouraging. It's becoming more mainstream, as I said. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about the role itself. Going back, what do you enjoy most about what you do, Andrew?
What do I enjoy most about what I do? Oh my goodness. I really like talking about it. Like I really like expressing how helpful this is, because it's not just the fact that somebody's getting a solar wall or somebody's getting solar on their house, like specific to that person. I'm so happy that I'm able to help that person, but what happens after I help that person is really what makes me happy, because now that company or that business or that person now starts to talk about it. People start to see that this is happening. And then that awareness starts to spread and spiral. And you see this, 12% job growth, or you see this, exponential growth in this field because people are more accepting of it. And when you start to see these things more and more and more, it becomes generally accepted. And now people are less standoffish about something because it's not new technology, it's technology, and people are doing it. So that really makes me happy when I see people get really excited about it after they've done it, and just seeing how it spirals from there into something so great, and just educating people on what it actually is and how it works. And there's a lot of myths about solar too. There's a lot of myths about renewable energy that have been sort of dragged forward from decades ago, and a lot of that stuff might have been true, back then, but it's no longer true, and it's time to sort of expand the awareness of what is now. So I really do enjoy talking about it, enjoy educating people about it, and I feel really really good that I'm doing something that I feel is going to help society, the planet, people right now, as well as into the future. Yeah, when I, waking up every day doing this type of a job, it just makes me so happy, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to be in this position.
So let me ask you the flip side now. What do you think? Actually, what are some of the challenges that one will face in your position?
Yeah, a lot of the challenges on the electricity side of things, it's it's really just that belief system or people's fear of making that step. That's really like the main challenge, is just getting people over that hump of realizing that, hey, if everything makes sense, if the dollars and cents make sense, the environmental makes sense, to just do it instead of staying in the complacent area where you're at when, electricity prices are going up, when fuel prices are going up. All these incentives are pushing you in this direction for the betterment of yourself and everything. So there's that struggle to really get people understanding that, just to make that step. Because so many of my clients on the electricity side of things, they were all like this. They were all, oh my gosh, it's a lot of money. Will this happen? Can I get this back? And then when they decide to, hey, pull the trigger and, let's just do it, you call them 6 months, a year later, and they just can't stop talking about it. So that's just the difficulty on the electricity side of things. Now on the more industrial solar wall heating side of things, it comes down to sort of finances again. If it doesn't make financial sense, then it's a really hard sell. Sometimes people will just do it because, even if it doesn't make sense, they'll just do it because it's a talking point for their building. You're building a $100 million hospital or something, and you throw a $100,000 solar wall up. It's not cost wise, it's really nothing, but wow, look what I get to talk about. But sometimes it just doesn't make financial sense, and we have to accept that. Or sometimes there's just not a good place to put it, unfortunately, and there's nothing we can do. It's really it goes back to financials, really, because the technology is tried, tested, and true, reliable. We all know that. So it's really the financial aspect that has to be taken into consideration, and that's where we're seeing such a huge bump from, the government level with these initiatives that are helping people make the right choice by offering such incentives and funding.
I want to touch base, Andrew, on a couple of things you said. One is finances, and the second is sense of pride. So let me talk about finance very quickly. You're right. Like, for example, Tesla has been around since 2008, even before the recession started. The car company Tesla, initially only the rich people bought it, right? Like, it was a $70,000, $100,000 US car.
It's expensive.
It's very expensive. So for people who are used to buying a $20,000, $30,000 car, it could not justify. But I think early this year or late last year, they are just releasing the next version of the car. I believe it's the Model E, which is 30,000 US. So all of a sudden, the next car they're building and mass production, it's becoming very affordable. Because you buy any other car, it's $30,000 to $40,000. So you're buying the same car, same price, and it is solar. And all of a sudden, the people lining up to put deposit on that it was amazing. I think they had billions of orders of commitments for people, and it's funny. And those cars won't be available to the purchasers until 2018, 2019. That's how much demand. So the financial is a true point. Like, it has to reach a point where people can think, you know what, it makes sense. It's not 5 times what I expected. The second thing is sense of pride. You're right. I mean, like, for example, I read a story about an airport in southern India. Kochi, India, is the city. Their entire airport is powered by solar. They've taken themselves completely outside the grid. and they're talking about it. It's everywhere. It's all over the news, right? So there's a sense of pride, like when a building and a commercial building does it, they talk about it. They like Apple recently decided to invest in renewable, so like a solar farm to power all their data centers. And
I think Google's doing the same sort of thing. It's it's wonderful that this is happening.
And that sense of pride, they keep talking about it, right? So that there's a fine balance, and I think things are moving along in a positive direction for the industry, and someone like you is working there as well. So some of the challenges you mentioned eventually will become subsided when everyone starts doing it in a few years.
Yeah, and it's like, especially in this type of an industry, to understand the financial markets and finance in general is I think very, very important to understand and grasp. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of what people are doing, and I saw this great documentary about off-grid people, and this guy said, like, about renewable energy, because he's sort of completely off the grid, and he's just like, it's not like I'm not paying for electricity. It's just I decided to pay for 40 years of electricity up front at a discount. Like, that's basically what what they're doing. And when people buy solar or buy renewable, that's what they're really sort of doing. They're just getting a really discounted rate on electricity over the long term because they don't have those ongoing costs anymore. And a lot of people choose to, in the solar energy world, finance it. Interest rates are really low. Most people who have solar have a house, so you can have a secured line of credit, and the payment for that system is much lower. Is much lower than your electricity bill. So your savings is right up front, right there. Your payback is quick, and it's having that kind of conversation as well, and understanding how to address those is just as important as understanding the technology itself.
Yeah, that sounds very, very exciting. So I wanted to shift gears with the perspective of someone deciding to come into the industry. So how do you suggest if someone wants to get started in the industry, what are your recommendations?
Oh my. If somebody wants to get started in the industry, if you have a sales background, it makes things easier. It makes things a lot easier because you're coming in it with value already. It's just another product that you now have to learn, and then you can go about selling it. I would say to do your research as to the type of company that you're getting involved with, and really, really talk as much as you can with past employees, or look online. Although online can be difficult to gauge, because I know there's like Glassdoor and reviews and stuff like that. But so often those can be skewed, fake reports and all that. So it's really tough. But I would suggest just going about finding, okay, who's a past employee, and just reaching out to them and saying, hey, what was your experience like? Can you let me know? This is what I'm thinking. That is definitely a piece of advice I would give for the energy industry as a whole. Sales background is definitely important, but a lot of people I see in this industry, funny enough, are engineers or people that have a degree in environmental studies, have gone to work with maybe the government in like Parks Canada or something like that. But there's really no one path to get into the industry. It's really, what do you want to do? And then do your research and figure out how you can achieve that. But be realistic, like know what you're getting into before you make that jump. I didn't I had an idea of what I was getting into, but at the same time, I didn't quite have that good an idea. So it was a bit of a rough go at the beginning. But, after being in the industry now for a few years, I'm in a much better position, and I wouldn't be here, unless I made that jump, unless I made those stumbles. It really comes down to just do your research. And if you want to get involved in renewables, figure out what it is that you want to, like how you want to be involved in it, and just go for it. There are companies out there in many different facets of renewables. I mean, there's racking companies, there's, solar wall, there's all sorts of things. So it's really figure out what it is that you want to do, research it, and then if you're comfortable, do it.
Sounds good. So another question I have is that you mentioned it's based on you taking the initiative, redoing the research. Does someone need a degree or a certification?
It always looks better when you do. That's just the way it is. I mean, I've got a business degree from Trent University, so that I feel does help in terms of interviews and my applications and my resume. So if you do have it, it's just an advantage. If you don't have it, what else do you have that's valuable that you can really highlight? What do you do as hobbies, or what do you do in this frame of environmentalism or renewable energy, or what can you look at to just say, hey, I might not have this, but this is what I'm actually doing. This is the experience that I have. And then, so it does help, absolutely. But it's not by any means necessary.
So when I said degree, I was thinking about if there any type of a degree or certifications for the solar industry. So it sounds like there isn't, or it's not it's not mandatory. Is that correct?
It's not mandatory. As things progress in Ontario, I imagine CANSIA, which is sort of like the overarching sort of solar industry organization, I'm sure things will progress in that way as it goes. For me specifically, in my current role, like I'm studying right now for a LEED certificate, leadership in environmental energy or environmental efficiency design. So, I mean, that I don't need it. There are certificates and studying that you can do to help boost yourself. So just because you don't have a degree in environmental studies, for example, doesn't mean you can't study and grab, a LEED certificate. And I mean, that will look really good when applying for a job in this sector. Absolutely. There's definitely a lot of different certificates you can get to help boost your visibility and allow potential employers to say, hey, you know what, this guy's done a lot. This girl's done a lot. Let's give them a chance.
That sounds great. So so what I'm hearing is LEED. I've heard about that. A lot of the buildings in downtown Toronto, many of them are LEED certified. It's becoming more of a standard, and it helps to have them. Okay. Yeah,
if you're building a new building, you're pretty much doing it to LEED Silver standard. Very rarely are you going to see a building these days not built to that standard. It just doesn't make sense in the world that we live in, and in the expectations of people in general.
All right. So the next question I have is what does an ideal career path look like? Where can someone getting started in the solar industry, where do you think it can take them?
Oh my gosh, anywhere. Like, yeah, I mean, just like anything, what's your drive? What do you want out of it? And just work to achieve it. I mean, the ideal path is, I don't even know if there is an ideal path. Like I've seen, like myself, I have my path. I've seen people that have, like one of my colleagues went to school and now, got her Master's of Environmental Studies, worked for Parks Canada, and then joined this company. So that's definitely a path to go in the more sort of academic way in. But, there's other people that just, hounded, like my boss, for example, just, said, I want to do this. I want a job at this place, and did what he could do to get the job. And now, he's a North America sales manager, right? It's just, what are you going to do to achieve what you want to achieve? So there's really no ideal path. It's just, just do it. Just go for it. Be smart about it and how you go about it. And if something's not working right, don't give up. Just change your methodology about it and just try a different way. And then if that doesn't work, try a different way. But definitely don't give up on going after a job in this profession just because, the first way didn't work. It's a growing industry. There's going to be a lot of potential moving forward. The next 30 years is going to be just, I'm very excited for it. I know that there's a lot of talk about the Paris Climate Accord over this past week. But that whole, 2050 target to get our emissions down, there's a lot of people moving in that direction, and availability of jobs and good paying jobs and good work is there. So definitely don't give up. Keep going at it any way you can. If you don't think you have the right skills or the right education or the right degrees, don't worry about it. What did I know? What did I know before I started? I thought it was cool. That's pretty much what I knew. And, I just kept at it because of my passion and that this is really what I felt my calling was. And now I'm in a really great position.
Awesome. So Andrew, we are coming to the end of the interview here. And one concluding question, or the last question I have is, what advice will you give to someone who wants to get into the field?
Oh, what advice? It is a big field. Looking at renewable energy, wow, there's a lot. You can always, and I guess email me if they really want some advice or some ideas. There's solar specifically I can help out with, but just, I guess, just to get into it. That's a tough one. I think I just mentioned it. Just start somewhere and just go for it. What do you want out of renewables? What do you want to do? Do you want to be in sales, or do you want to be sort of behind the scenes, or, project management? Like, what are your skills now, and how can they transfer to this industry? And then figure out how to do it. And the internet is a great source of information. Your podcast and your website is amazing for helping people land the job. So I think first step is, what do you want to do? Figure that out, and then figure out how to get it through the vast amount of valuable information that can be found all over the website or all over the internet. Yes, and just call people, call old employees, and just go for it. There's really no bad way to start. Just start.
Well, thanks for that, Andrew. And of course, thank you for the shout out to CareerMetis.com. I always love that. But that's solid advice. Decide what you want to do, and then find the resources and get started. Andrew, it was a pleasure to have you. Thanks for giving us a glimpse into the solar industry. It was, as I mentioned, it was a pleasure to have you as a guest.
Thank you, Nissar. Really happy to be able to share what I can. I always find, as soon as I get talking about it in the industry, just like, wow, we didn't even scratch the surface as to what I could talk about. But thank you for having me and letting me share what I do have to share about this topic. So yeah, thank you so much.
You are welcome, Andrew. Thanks, folks, for listening to this episode of the CareerMetis Podcast. As I always do, I've written a brief summary of the interview with also some of the links and certification details that Andrew has shared. If you enjoyed this episode and also learned something new, feel free to post a comment or a review. And if you really loved it, definitely go ahead and share this episode among your network. Until next time, this is Nissar Ahmed, your host for the CareerMetis Podcast. Thank you.